I turn this off?
It's on. It's going to be on this thing, and we're not going to leave it. That's what's going to happen. This whole podcast, we're going to keep this. My boy's going to be sweating from his laughter. Oh, my God. So which one's funnier?
Go
I
was going to say, you talk about a friend that has a nervous laugh whenever they get nervous. Is that me?
That's you.
Oh, okay. Sorry for people that are watching this. Oh, gosh.
Right
what
there.
up, Prolific Podcast? Sorry, that's your line.
No, it's okay. Hit it.
Okay. Oh, thank God.
Wow.
I know. I didn't even know what I was going to press. Honestly, I had no expectations for anything good to come out of that.
I had zero expectations. I have to fix the camera, but keep going.
Oh, okay.
You got an intro. I fix the camera.
What up, Prolific Podcast? How y'all doing today? This is Joey. He's over there. He's on the other side of the camera. I'm Christofer. Alejo is not here at the moment, but he is here in spirit.
He is here in spirit. And
right here.
Chris, right there. No, this is Holy Spirit. That's not, and by the way, Christopher is spelled, apparently his mother says, the right way.
Yep. If you're watching it, Mom, she spelled it with an F, not with a PH like you weirdos. Or if you're really weird, if you spell it with a K.
What?
There's people that spell their name Christopher. Yeah, sorry.
I literally was like, Christopher. That is not Christopher.
Nope. I'm trying to think. There's so many ways to spell Christopher.
There really is. There really is. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, Prolific Podcast. Super excited. So I'm excited to just kind of talk. So today, I'm going to be interviewing the Agostini, the myth, the legend, the man of God, the anointed, the faithful. Yeah, there's lots of lines as he's drinking from a blue Solo cup.
Thank you, Solo cup.
I promise it's water. But yes, so super excited for a couple reasons. Number one, what are you giggling?
No, reason number one. Sorry.
Reasons number one. Why are you giggling? You're giggling.
I don't know.
There.
I like being here.
You like being here with me? Should I get you in an Alejo face? So then
please.
it'd be funny. Or should we get him a cutout?
Oh my!
Should we get Alejo a cutout?
Yep.
And his little head could just be like right here. Don't tell him. He's probably not even going to watch this. He probably doesn't even watch this episode.
Man. He probably doesn't watch the podcast.
He probably doesn't even watch. He probably doesn't even subscribe.
Shouldn't even go.
He probably do. I don't even know. But yeah. So today, 3 minutes into this, today we have the honor and the privilege of the Christofer Agostini, and what we are going to do. I felt like I should interview him in a way of the place that he has been faithfully serving at and plugged in at for 20 years.
Yes.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
I just turned 21 yesterday. So.
I'm a young man. No. How old are you, Agostini?
30 years young as of right now. Turned 31 in June. So
hey, yo. So real soon.
Yes,
so
very
possibly, soon. I mean, no, this should drop before then. So yeah, you should be fine. But yeah, so what I felt like is I wanted to have the conversation about your faithful rooted at the church that you and I met at.
Yep.
So you and I met at the Life Church.
Year was...
oh my gosh. Do you know?
I don't remember the year we met.
Was it 2009?
Honestly, well, I started high school in 2009, so
it
might have been...
Yeah, 2009, 2010? No. No, wait. You didn't start in 2009. You started in 2008.
No, when I started attending the church?
No. When you went to high school. Because you graduated a year before me, right?
So then 2008 was when I probably went in.
I'm a dummy. We graduated the same year.
Yes.
For some reason, I thought you graduated who graduated 2011?
Honestly, I don't remember.
I swear, someone we know that good luck with that. It's gonna
just gonna
continue. But yeah, so I believe we met in 2008, 2009. My family was looking for churches where we needed to be and plugged in at and all that. And so through that, we ended up getting plugged into the Life Church. We saw each other after. We talked about this last time. If you haven't, seen the last podcast, we talked about that. But through this all, my man has been plugged in at the Life Church, faithfully serving and at times and currently working now
Yeah.
for the Life Church, but
Yeah,
for 10 years.
So I would say I've been working at the Life Church on and off, I would say, since like 2014, maybe.
Okay.
So I remember I started out like doing as internship stuff, but I would say the first time I actually got paid was I got hired to be a janitor, I guess.
Hey.
And so that didn't last long because I'm a terrible cleaner. I'm just kidding. No.
He is.
So basically what happened was it just wasn't in the finances at the moment, and so they couldn't continue to pay me, so they let me go. But of course I was still faithful, so I still served and did all that stuff and tried to come when I could, because I was still in Bible school at the time, so I really wanted to keep serving and interning and all that stuff.
Right.
So
Where did you go to Bible school?
the River Bible Institute in Tampa. So yeah, shout out to Pastor Rodney Howard Brown.
Yeah. So you were up there, but you were still faithfully attending the Life Church through that process.
Yes.
And so plugged into Life, serving into Life, involved in youth ministry. I mean, you and I pretty much led the youth ministry with the youth pastor, did a lot of the stuff that youth pastor showed up and communicated.
Yep.
And we did a lot of the stuff, which again, I loved because in reality, that's where we cut our teeth. In a lot of ways. That's where we had opportunities without our youth pastors. I mean, we both went through 4 or 5 youth pastors, I believe. And so
talk about transition.
Yeah, every year. A freshman, sophomore, junior, every year we went through a transition in that. So it's crazy. And so through that we went through a lot of different things. And you've continued to remain faithful. So I had a couple questions in that world.
Please.
So not just a couple. I got some questions for you. And so like you now know, we met each other at this church. Well, in 2012, I graduated.
Yep.
And we initially, it's really funny, we both were talking about going to Rhema.
Yeah.
And then we both were talking about going to Go Ministries, which both were ministry schools. One was where our pastor went, did ministry and all that stuff. And then the other one was ministry it was a ministry school that came in and did ministry for our church. And they were skit based and drama based and we just loved that. I mean, we were doing improv. We loved it.
So much fun.
Yeah, so much fun. Doing, they're called human videos or live videos. I don't remember what they're technically the
if I can find it, I'll play it on this video.
Bro,
I'll play a snippet in the background.
Can we find the Everything skit?
Yeah, if we can find that. Dude, everybody else know that? Just Google the Everything skit.
Just Everything skit, live song. And then, bro, do you remember my first message? I had 12 skits.
That you preached?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, dude.
Do you remember what
I had for breakfast today?
Shut up. The only reason why I can say it is because, do you remember we did the skit, guys? Skit.
Okay.
We did Chisel.
Yes. I do remember. That was actually on video somewhere.
Yes, somewhere.
Yes, I think actually might know where it's at.
Bro,
but
if you can find that, because that message, I was telling Alejo about that. That message had 5 different messages. I had a skit in the beginning. I had a skit at the end.
Oh my gosh.
I had
Talk about sermon prep.
Dude, I literally wrote that's not about me. It's crazy. But it was just, I looked at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know why Pastor Dustin even let me do this.
Yeah.
But he did. He trusted me. And
Thanks,
because
Pastor
of that,
Dustin.
thank you. Because of that, that was the day that I felt the calling into ministry. And in that day was in the process of you want to go to Go Ministries, all that world, right? So I transitioned. I graduated high school. I was there for a little bit.
Yep.
But then I ended up feeling called to go down to a college called 24/7. And I transitioned from there. Years later, I'll fast forward, right? The reason you'll see why I'm saying this. Years later, your best friend that was at the church with you and family, not just they're family, the Freeman family, Pastor Eddie was the lead pastor at the time. He felt the leading to transition as well, which also meant your best friend had a decision to transition with him, Chase, or to stay, right? And so 2 of your best friends, in a sense, at the church transitioned to go pursue ministries in different spots. Yeah. But yet you were there. Mm-hmm. So my question to you is, during that time, those are 2 completely different seasons of your life. One was you were 18, 19, and then the other one was when you were 27.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, actually.
It was 2020, right?
Yeah, 2020. So,
coming
up on...
26, 27.
Yeah.
So those obviously are 2 completely different times, but what were some of the things inside of you as you watch your friends take steps out from the place that you felt like you were still established?
Yeah.
What were some of those soul things that was going through and within your soul?
Yeah, no, definitely a lot of confusion. I would say I was concerned. I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing now? Like, what's my life look like? You know, I've put my life into this for the past 10 some years, and like I've been a part of this family, and I love them, and like you build like this like really close knit group, like almost like these are your family members. Like you do life with them. Like I remember, like I would stay at these people's houses. My pastor's house, he would let me in and like just hang out and sleep there. He was the best. He's almost like a second dad.
Yeah.
And so like with him and then his sons, like they were like brothers to me. And so it wasn't easy at first. I'm like, oh man, this is hard. Like I'm missing some of the closest people. Like and it's funny because like in that matter of time, a lot of the people like left. I'd actually like your brother-in-law, for example, was a youth pastor that I served under, and so he felt the leading as well to leave and had a transition as well. And so people were like leaving left and right. And, and I'm like, am I supposed to leave?
Am I missing it?
Yeah.
Right.
Am I
like,
missing
is there
it? Like,
something?
or do I need to go follow some of these guys? Like, maybe I'm supposed to be joining their ministry because they're doing ministry somewhere else. I'm like, am I supposed to follow them? Like, is this like a, David and Jonathan kind of covenant? Like where this is like, we go forever. Like, but I had to learn some things about loyalty and like, who am I loyal to? Like, what am I loyal to the person? Am I loyal to God? Like, what is God calling me to do and what he has at me? So it wasn't easy. Definitely there was days that I was like questioning a lot and like trying to figure out what I do. And honestly, I think what I learned was a lot of times when you're in that place of like confusion or doubts, people will either go and make their way, or for me, I just froze in a sense. Like I didn't do anything. I was like, until I know what God wants me to do, I'm going to stay right here and not going to move. Like I'm literally going to be frozen in a sense to where whatever he has, whatever he wants to do, if he wants to do something with me here, then I'm going to still be faithful to what I'm doing. And I could just continue to be faithful. And I didn't make any rash decisions because that's, of course, when that emotions are rising and a lot of things are happening, it's like we can make some crazy decisions. And so I was like ready to move up and go to Texas or go to a different church. And I was like, I remember at one point I was like, I thought about that and like going to another church and seeing what that looked like, but it just didn't. It was just, nope, I need to stay here.
You didn't feel a peaceful check. Yeah. You actually felt like I need to be here.
Yep.
So what were some of those things like, I mean, again, as you said, it wasn't easy. What were some of the soul things? That was like you were feeling in those moments that like you were processing with the Lord, with your wife. Like, what were some of those things?
Yeah, I think like, so again, being at this church for such a long time, I was like, what do you want me to do, Lord? Like, what is my calling here? Because if you have me here, like I am one of the longest members of this church. I've been a part of this church since I was 10 years old. Like for almost 20 years I've been here. Like, what do you want for me to do here? Like I know that a lot of people want to go do big things and be a part of big things. And I'm like, I'm at a small church. Like I'm struggling to figure out if this is really where you want me to be, or am I actually making an impact here at this small little church? Like I want to do big things. And so I feel like I've gotten spoken over on callings for my own life, but I just still feel like God had me here. And like, I just don't want to move. And so unless I of course, hear his voice and like him show me. And so I think to try to answer that question of where I was in my soul, like, again, just a lot of just doubts and a lot of just like, Lord, are you there? Like, are you going to move me? Like, what are you doing with my life? Like everybody else is doing great things. It seems like, everybody's moving out and doing things that they feel like, oh, I'm like, I'm still here. So like, what am I going to do while I'm here? Yeah. And so, and again, I just continue to be faithful. And I believe the Lord has blessed that faithfulness just to say, you know what, I'm going to stay where I am. I'm going to be faithful where I'm at. And God will see that and he'll bless that. Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you've seen since you've stayed, that you've seen the Father move in a blessing way? Because again, when you're in it, your soul can be like, I just can't see it. Yeah. But now that you are in reality, 8 years since, oh my gosh, longer than that. 12 years since I transitioned.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh,
and now
really?
2012.
Oh, dude. That's
so wild. So 2012, right? And then I've been back at the Life Church, for the past 7-8 months. Yeah. And then Chase being transitioned 4-ish years, but it's not like we've lost connection. Yeah, it's not like we're, again, I mean, he's here and he's our producer and et cetera. So like the Lord continues to do stuff. I believe like the Lord does that stuff. But through those moments, what were some of the things that like now that you're looking back, looking back upon 2012, looking back upon 2020, being like, man, like I really am just,
like talk about some of the changes that
yeah,
I've seen.
some of the things that you've seen. Yeah.
Definitely. Like
in you, let's talk you first.
Me first. What have I seen?
Yeah, within you, like within the Agostini, within Christofer Agostini.
Whoa, this is deep. Things that I've seen in myself. I feel like definitely a lot of times I struggled with just being caught up in like people's shadows. And so again, another person that was working that also was there was my own brother. And so me and my brother and a lot of the people, like again, we were all serving together. And so I always felt like I was under other people's shadows, or I was always hiding behind somebody else, and like just kind of stayed in the background. And so that was really a big thing for me. And so what happens is, unfortunately, as people step out and they leave, of course, God says, all right, well, we're going to move you up, man. We're going to push you into not the light and like the limelight or anything like that. But I stepped out of the background, and like, I feel like I started to really try to figure out my own identity and who I was, and like what my role was in the church and what God wanted me to do. And so in that time, of course, we've got a new pastor. I've stepped in another role of being a youth director, which I have had a whole lot of, I guess, experience in that area, but still learning new things, of course. But, you know, stepping away from calling that I was in to do sound and stepping up and to do ministry on worship on the platform. And so just little things like that, just like really just seeing what was that?
I don't know.
Something made a noise. Sorry.
Things have been making noises in this office lately. I'll put it that way.
But just realizing that, like, man, God has a big calling for me. And sometimes as I wait and I'm serving other people, and I just know that God's timing's perfect, and He made a way for me to be where I'm at right now. So I trust Him in every step. And even when I didn't understand, I know He was still moving and still doing things. So He's good for that. I love that.
Come on.
Thank you, Jesus.
So in the past 20 years, what have you learned being at the same church?
Ooh. Well, we all know this. It's not greener on the other side. It's green where you water it.
Come on.
And so, like, I've had many times where I have like, man, I want to go to this church and ABC church, whatever you want it to be. You know, I struggled
fill in the blank.
Yeah. And struggled with the fact of like, you know, man, they're doing it great over there. Look, they're doing so much awesome things. Like, they have the finances to do great things. Like, I got a small church, so like, you know, like a church of 300. So it's like, okay, like,
which is still actually quite large.
Yeah, it is quite large.
For the American church. The average American church is, I believe, 50.
That's crazy.
And so, like, you still have a large church.
Yeah.
But, like, in the standard of the churches you have been around and your friends have been around and et cetera, like, again, Chase went to Gateway.
Yeah.
You know, Pastor Eddie is a Gateway. And Gateway, if you don't know, you know, they have 40,000 people, like something like that. And so it's a large church.
Yeah. I've always been around people that have gone to big churches.
Yeah.
And it's always been like a weird thing, because I'm like, oh, I don't have that experience, but it's weird. But I've like seen it, and I've gotten to like dip my toe in for a second, because I've got either gonna go there, like to visit or be a part of little things like that, and just see what I could bring back to my church, and like what could we do to step up our level and game up a little bit. So,
keep going.
Yeah, no, it was good. I just, after 20 years, like you see a lot, and you realize not to put expectations on people and expectations on man. Because man will fail you. Man will leave. Man is going to go and do whatever God's called them to do. And their season could be quick, could be long. And so you just have to realize that you can't put expectations on people. And honestly, even though I love these relationships I've had, you almost have to hold them with an open fist to be like, hey, like tomorrow the wind can blow and God can call them somewhere else.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I know we talked about it a little bit. Like, I've seen, man, we've had like 5 youth pastors. How many? Yeah. I've had, I would say, 3 or 4 senior pastors already being at this church. And so just a lot of transitions happened. And so you can, it's crazy, because you can doubt and say, what's going on? Why are people leaving? Like, what's something wrong with the church or something wrong with people? But hey, this is just life. God moves people. There's just, we don't understand how the seasons work. And sometimes it's for a little time, sometimes it's a long time. And so you just have to understand that and just trust God that, hey, he sees a bigger picture, and know He's going to guide us and guide where you're going. That what is God saying to you? Where does He want you planted? And so, yeah.
Hey, that leads right into my next question. Like, why do you think it's important to stay rooted somewhere?
Ooh.
Maybe talk to the person that is very quick to leave. very quick because something's gone wrong, or someone's offended them, or they've done something wrong. What it might be. Why do you think it's important to stay rooted somewhere?
Oh man, I was like just thinking about what's that scripture that talks about, like to be planted or rooted. It's like what's that? It's
Rooted and established in love.
Psalms. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, there's rooted and established in love. Then there's Psalms 1 that
like,
being rooted by the river.
Like I believe like. I don't like to say like we are trees, but
dude, I have a bunch of that. Don't worry.
He's like we are.
You're talking to the same mindset.
Yeah. But I believe it's so important to find a place that God has called you to be at, and I think unfortunately culture has said if you don't like something, change it and like go somewhere else. Find somewhere that you're gonna feel good where you're at, and whatever. No one's gonna say anything mean to you or speak to you in a way that you're gonna honestly like want to run away. But sorry,
come on,
but
take your time.
Yeah, no,
talk about it.
Yeah, no, I've had a lot of come to Jesus moments at the church that I've gone to, and had a lot of like hard conversations and hard things happen in relationships, and like, but I stuck around because like, I feel like for me, the easy way is to just run or just go somewhere else where no one knows my name and just start over. But the hard thing is to actually stay with it and grow from it and learn. Because guess what? My way is not always the best way. I don't know it all. And so I know that one thing for sure is that the place that I am planted at, people care about me. People want what's best for me, because that's what the church is for. We're here to be for one another and to help grow one another. And so I feel like for people that are there that maybe you said, oh, I've given us like so many 5 churches maybe in 1 year. Man, I would ask why. Is it because I would tell you one thing? It's probably not the church's fault. Maybe you need to look internally. I'm not trying to be harsh, but why?
Bro, speak the truth. Stop it. Like, Stop apologizing.
There's
That's
always
good.
something. Yep. Maybe it's time to look internally. Like, why do I feel like I've gone to so many churches? What's going on internally? Why do I struggle to stay at a place? Because, again, you can't just run away from your problems, or you can't just, if something happens, someone says something, again, you can't just run away from that stuff. You gotta hit it on, head on.
Like, people are gonna hurt you.
Yeah,
like no matter. Like, guess what? Every pastor in this world is a person.
Yeah,
as a human being.
It's just people putting expectations.
Right. So inside of that, when you mentioned that you've had like hard conversations, are you saying that you have had hard conversations with a lot of people?
No.
Or that people have had a lot of hard conversations
with me.
Okay.
And like, people have told me things, and have to like, I've had to walk through journeys with people and like learn things, and I've made mistakes, and so like had those hard talks, like from your pastor or from a friend or whatever that is, or someone you're serving with, or and so like, or you've had reasons to get offended with somebody, and like that's happened too, and relationships have been like, oh man, like this needs to get fixed, or I don't know how we're gonna see each other at church on Sunday. This is gonna be weird. But we've had those come to Jesus moments, and we've grown and like realized that it's okay to have a little conflict once in a while. Again, I hate conflict. If you've seen any of our reels, sorry.
What are you talking about? He uses AI to get out of them now.
Yeah, exactly. But I've realized it's helped me grow, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I don't feel like, again, I relate it to marriage. Like if you just have an issue, you can't just leave and just jump ship like most of our culture does when something goes wrong. Yeah. We just, if it rubs me the wrong way, I'm out. I'm going to go do something different.
Right. It's good. Yeah. So again, you've been leading into different things.
Sorry.
No, I love it, because it means that what the Lord was giving me prior is good. So was there ever a moment you felt like it was time to leave and find somewhere else?
Yes. I think, and it's funny because I think that when I wanted to leave, I think there was a little bit of offense at times. And I think there was like really trying to look deep into myself. I'm like, okay, why do I want to leave? I'm like, am I actually maybe just upset at somebody? Maybe I'm just offended by something that someone said. And so, yeah, I do remember those moments. I remember where I was like, okay, where am I going to go? Like, because I've worked at a church, I'm like, maybe I'm going to work at another church. And like, I had interviews at other churches, and I started like trying to walk down that process, and the doors just closed, and they kept closing. And I realized, I was like, okay, God, like, I'm not supposed to be leaving. You want me here. And so either I can just keep trying to fight it, or I can just confront it and be like, all right, what's going on within me?
So what was like some of those things that, again, internally that you grew through in that? So
Yeah.
like again, you're processing. You're like, okay, I'm gonna go interview things. I'm gonna go processing this stuff. You're offended, but what were some of the things that the Lord was revealing and stirring inside of Christofer Agostini that you're like, man, maybe I need to uproot this? Like, what were some of those things?
That's a good question. And just so you know, this stuff is like so not rehearsed. If you ever
No,
watch, if
I
you're ever
promise
watching
you.
Prolific
Yeah,
Podcast,
yeah.
we don't just rehearse stuff here.
No.
We just talk it. So
No,
now
no.
I'm like processing your question. So one more time for me.
So, well, it's funny, it's not even written down. What were some of the things that, like, as you were going through this, that the Lord was revealing that you actually needed to uproot in your life? Like some of the stuff that, again, you're rooted somewhere.
Yeah.
And you're established at the Life Church, but while you're there, what were some of the, maybe a better word is prune. Maybe there were some things that you
I
were.
definitely,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, no, I definitely
go.
think pride was a big one that had to be pruned because, like, dude, I just felt like I knew it all. Like, I feel like, you know, like I went to Bible school and I remember like having conversations like, I feel like what I learned at Bible school, like we should be doing these things here at church. And like, I had to be humbled like real quick. And like, dude, I'm under this house. I'm not under the house that I was at school.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
like I have to
Been
either
there.
serve under this
Yep.
house. Yeah.
Yep.
And like honor and respect what God is doing in this house. And really just humble myself. Like, man, dude, you don't know it all. Like I've had to really like walk through, and I see it now. Cause I've like, when I walk in now with other people and I'm like, I feel like you were there where I was at like a couple years ago. And so now I
You
start
like
to
see yourself, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, did I look like that?
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
checking the pride and like, and even now, sometimes it's hard because it's a walking through. Because like when you've been at church for so long, it's your home, and so you know it like the back of your hand. So like you know how everything goes, you know how everything's supposed to go, and so just always living life in a way of like, hey, I don't know all the answers. I don't know where everything, and so I just try to be humble in that.
Yeah.
I really try to lower myself sometimes, and
Yeah.
so but almost to a fault to where it's like people have like, no, be bold. I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm trying to be humble. Like I'm trying to be less pride.
Well, there's a difference between false humility, confidence, and pride.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like even the idea of like, oh, the Lord had to prune pride. Well, if he only pruned it, that means it's going to keep growing back. But if he was uprooting it, that's very different.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's where like some of those things as we go through, because I had to be humbled. Again, I came from a ministry school of a big church to a growing church, and I was like, oh, you're hiring me because I did all this stuff at this church, and that's what you told me. And then I got humbled very quickly. It was like, you're not here because of that. I'm like, you said I was, and like different things like that, you know. And but it's humbling. And most of the time, I just believe from the ages of 20 to 30, there's just so much like just growth and stuff we have to go through that in reality, like you hit 30 and hopefully you realize, man, I don't know a lot.
Yeah.
I need people, because like from 20 to 30, like there were so many moments I was like, oh, I know how to do stuff. I know the right way.
Yeah.
I know the way that's going to produce fruit and like, et cetera. When in reality, like, man, I don't know crap.
Yep.
Like
A lot
I
happened
really,
in 20
dude,
from 20 to 30.
bro, 20, 30, I was a whole different person.
Got married, 2 kids.
Yep.
Like I think I even,
Yep.
everything happened.
Yeah, bro. Everything.
Yeah.
And like again, there's just so much life that happens. And so let's keep going. I only got a few more. So do you find it hard now to actually think about leaving the Life Church?
Because I've been here so long.
Because
that's
you've been
like-
here so long.
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
So why?
I think it's because I've been there so long, and I've been literally rooted in everything that the church does there. Like there's history, and so I think it's a struggle now to be like, man, if I just left, like it's literally like, for my married folks out there, if you've been married for so long, you're like, if I like started over, if my wife, died, I was like, I had to start all over and do dating again. I'm like, I don't know how to do that.
I don't know how to do that.
How do I go to a new church? Like, how does that work? Like, all I know is this community that I lived in and being a part of these people that I know. And so that is, it's definitely been a thought, but lately it doesn't. Like, I do feel like, especially because of where I'm at and where God has me with, being a youth ministry and worship and stuff, I don't feel that pull. Of course, like I'll go to visit other churches and stuff like that, or because I have family all over. And so, but then I don't feel it. I just don't feel that. I know where God has me.
You're called at the Life Church.
Yeah,
still.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's my home. Like that feeling of like walking into your house and like just opening up your fridge and like it's that feeling.
Yeah.
Like I could just take my shoes off. Like it's my home.
Right.
And so
So what are some of the things that like even at that place, like you've been there for 20 years.
Yeah.
And Pastor Eddie, which was our pastor when we were there together, transitions.
Yeah.
the church goes into a flip.
Yeah, especially right before COVID.
Was it right before or during?
Wait.
I think it was during.
Actually, it was during COVID. So yeah.
So COVID, the Fire Nation attacks, like all this stuff.
Where's the Avatar?
Jesus! And like all this stuff happens, right? And so Pastor Eddie feels a transition.
Yeah.
Pastor Casey is the associate pastor at the time. Like that's a whole nother story of like him, like, I'm not called to be the lead pastor. Like, let's go find, someone and part of the elders and all that stuff in that process. And then ends up becoming the lead pastor.
Yep.
But in the process, COVID and transition of pastor and so much stuff, the church, in a sense, does a flip. Like, to this day, of my knowledge, the only people that are there that I know, and I still stopped in and showed up a good bit. Like, my dad's an elder at the Life Church. Yeah. So like, I love that church. The Life Church, again, I'm here and I love the Life Church. But like in this transition period, the church body kind of does a reset.
Yep.
Many people leave.
Yep.
But a lot of new people come in.
Yeah.
What are in that process? Because again, you're the only person that's been there for 20 years, right? And then it's like my family and your wife's family.
Yeah.
And then there's some families here and there that like I know like two other couples that have been going, at least I knew them at the Life Church. I knew of them. I don't know if they were same time as us, but like I knew of them. Two other families.
Yeah.
And it's wild to see.
Yeah.
Yet,
it's crazy.
Yet the Life Church is at like a whole different vision.
Yep.
Whole different place, whole different direction, whole different location. Whole different church.
It is crazy. It has definitely been a different church. And so it's awesome. It's God's doing great things.
Yeah.
And so,
So you kind of mentioned it, but my question is, do you feel obligated to the Life Church history?
Ooh, that is a good question. We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, you touched it a little bit.
Yeah. For people that weren't here earlier. If you're tuning in just now.
If you're tuning in this second, fast forward the podcast to this point.
Do I feel obligated? There's a part of, I guess, there's a part of me that's like, I have a story to tell of the history of this church that I know for a fact, like if I left, that history would just die. That no one else that is a part of that church would know about what actually is going on. Because, again, there's been so much change, with a new senior pastor. And, again, with the majority of the people that were there are now literally like, again, like maybe four couples, maybe two couples, three couples, whatever. Sometimes I do feel like I feel obligated to be like, man, like the story of the Life Church needs to be told. And it would be hard for me to leave knowing that if I left, that story would almost die off. And that history would be gone. Because it's a lot. A lot has happened. A lot has happened in those 20 years. And from even knowing that the church wasn't originally in Tampa, that originally it was in Minnesota, like that, like stuff like that, like people don't know about. And like, that's just a cool thing to talk about and a cool story, because people just come to church and like, oh, well, who's here? What are y'all doing? Like, how long you been here? Because people want to know the history a little bit. When
a lot of times, people just think you've been there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, this church has been here for 40 years.
To know like we've been in like 4 different buildings and like with 4 different pastors. Wow, that's weird. But like just all that transition. What's the number 4 mean? I don't know. But just to see all the change, and a lot of people don't know that. And so, I feel that sometimes. But
so now, when vision changes, what happens internally in you?
It's I'll be honest. First time, it's not easy. It is definitely hard, especially. Unfortunately, vision is usually held a lot of times by the leader of the house and the pastor. And so when you have a new person come in, vision can change. And so, it wasn't easy at first because, you've been doing things, for example, for the past 10 plus years this way. And then now someone else coming in is like, oh, we're going to do it this way. And it's just like, oh, but I'm so used to doing it this way. And there's always that like pushback and like the struggles, because I definitely felt that beginning out when we first had Pastor Casey come in, like, and he knows this, like, it's just we like to joke around. He actually sent me home when I was working at the church.
Grounded.
Literally sent me home because I was just a bad employee. I was not doing the best work, and so I was again just starting out. But
you were stuck in your own head.
Yeah, exactly.
It was your way or the highway. It was I've been here, you don't understand.
Yeah, exactly. So it was definitely a moment of like, all right, humbling, like just those things. And so again, I had to literally give it to the Father and say, all right, Lord, either I'm going to do this the right way and like submit myself, or I can't be a part of this church. Because if I'm just gonna be a part but be half-hearted and like not fully submitted to it, or like people that are just like, oh, I'll do it, but I'm not gonna be happy about it. Like I'm like, I didn't want that. Like I'm like, Lord, check my heart. Like let me do this the right way. I don't want to be led by my flesh. Like I know it's not the same thing that I was used to, but I know that your ways are better. And so show me, teach me. And so cool thing is I feel like my pastor kind of took me under the wing and kind of just guided me and showed me like what this new vision looked like. And so again, with change, there's always a place to where you can get upset and push it or push against it. But if you embrace it and know that God's with you in the change, that He'll guide you and it'll be good. It'll turn out good.
Yeah, man. That's awesome, man. And so I wanna close out. So thank you for just being honest, for being vulnerable. What I love more than anything, the thing that I admire about Christofer Agostini is the faithfulness, particularly to the Life Church.
Yeah.
The longing, the trust, like you've gone through a lot of change and you've had, like you've said, you've had a lot of real conversations. You've had a lot of people like correct. You've had things where, again, you were sent home, like, et cetera, like where things like you were, even though you fell short, you continued to just be.
Yeah.
And be rooted and showed a loyalty. You said the word loyalty. And one thing that I can say about Christofer Agostini is loyalty. The one thing I can say about that man is when an Agostini is with you, maybe it's the Italian blood in us, bro. Is there's just loyalty.
Yeah.
And you'll fight, you'll die, you'll bleed for people.
Yeah.
And that's like your faithfulness honestly is inspiring, man. The way that you plug in and the way that you stay rooted, like some people in the world would call it dumb.
Yeah.
But I call them dumb. Because in reality for me, like for someone to say I'm staying, I'm rooted. Yeah. Even when it doesn't make sense, even when everyone else is dipping, even when everyone else is leaving, my friends are going off to do things, my enemies, whatever you want to call it, everyone is rolling, my mentees, like my mentors, like all like people are just dipping and you're just there and you're like, Lord, am I here? And again, that's up to you, between you and the Lord, if He is still called you there. But in reality, like the thing that I love and what I look to Agostini is like, man, like that is a man that is loyal. That is a man that's loyal to a body, and the body of the Life Church. But in reality, the church, like it's not about a brand name. It's not about like that. That's the brand you're under. That's the brand, the part of the body you're plugged into. But more than anything, like you are loyal to Jesus.
Yes.
And that is what I love about you, man. I'm grateful for that, for the years. That's what, by the grace of God, you and I connected at the time where we both just wanted to be loyal to Jesus. And the Lord has brought us to many different places. The Lord has given you opportunities He's never given me. And He has allowed you to be on platforms that I've dreamed of being on. And the Lord has privileged you to be on, and you may not understand that, and you may not have seen it. And again, the Lord has had me on journeys of pathways that are not your pathways either. And through it all, more than anything, the thing that I love, and I pray for everyone that's listening, maybe you're going through a season right now where you feel like, well, I want to dip, I want to leave, or it's really, really hard. Like, man, there's so much vision changing, there's so much life changing, there's so many things that are going on in my life. Like, I think I just need a roll. I would just ask you, will you be like Christofer Agostini? Will you be a man that submits himself to authority of Jesus, number one, and number two, the authority of who God has positioned? Now listen, Pastor Eddie has failed you.
Yeah.
And Pastor Eddie has failed people.
Yeah.
Pastor Casey has failed you, and Pastor Casey has failed people.
Yeah.
Your pastors will fail you. Authority will fail you.
Yes.
People you place expectations on will fail you. It's not about you submitting to the wrong person. It's about you submitting to what David called the Lord's anointed.
That's good.
So they may be wrong.
Yeah.
They may throw spears at you.
Yeah.
But will you submit to the Lord's anointed? If the Lord has appointed all leadership and all authority. Even if man has manipulated their way or snuck their way in, I'm going to trust that the Lord has placed them. And now I'm not going to be abused spiritually, physically, emotionally, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm going to be, in reality, look at David's life.
Yeah.
He was physically abused.
Yeah. What do you do when someone throws a spear at you? Do you play the harp for him? Or
Do you help the tormenting spirit get off of him?
Yeah. So the book is Tale of Three Kings. Write that down.
Write that down.
Tale of Three Kings.
Yep, it's great.
And it's about that Saul, David, and I believe Solomon. And so it's just the different ways that we honor authority. And like that book changed my life.
Yeah.
So I encourage it with you. But I also want to add to people that are maybe trying to figure out, okay, where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? I'm dealing with like this decision of should I leave or not? But I want to encourage you, planted things grow. And so wherever you are planted, when you are stay planted, you will grow. And so if you kept getting a plant and just uprooting it and putting it somewhere in new soil, guess what? That's going to happen. That's not going to grow. That thing's going to die.
It's going to end up stunting.
Yeah.
And again, like now, if the Lord is telling you to shift and move, be obedient to the living God. Like, because again, both make sense to both people. There's people that feel like transition is needed every few years. And there's other people that say, well, being rooted, you need to do that.
Yeah.
And guess what? There are people that are called to both.
Yeah.
So you, as a consumer of the word, of the gospel of Jesus, need to, number one, understand God. And as he can reveal who you have been designed to be. And there are people Alejo and I are one of them. Alejo and I have a very different background in how we move with the Holy Spirit and how we move with him and how we are led by him. And it is a gift. And I glean from Alejo, where there's moments I am in myself of a decision, and he can make a decision because he just knows the Lord. That's okay. God did it. I'm saying I'm good, and I'm like I made a joke. There's a decision right now that I'm praying about, and the Father, I made a joke to the King, and I'm like, God, I feel like even if you painted it in the sky and said, go here, or a random prophet shows up from Russia and starts speaking the word over me.
Russia.
I'm sorry, anywhere, I don't care. China, I don't care, and speaks the word over me. This like reads my mail. I would probably still go back to my secret place and be like, so God, I don't know if this was you, because at times I am too slow to make a decision because I'm actually moving in fear instead of faith. And there's some people that are too quick to make decisions because they're moving in fear instead of faith. So you have to understand God so then he can show you how he's wired you. So then whenever you are processing things like decisions, like vision change, like leadership change, like expectations and things, you can begin to pick up your tendencies on decisions, your tendencies on when someone fails you, your tendencies on when your sin. Like they're like, oh wait, why did I want that sin today? Why did I crave that today? Again, we've talked about this from lust and pride and etc. Like, well, why am I selfish today in this? It's because I felt insecure. And then you can begin to discover, but the only way you discover that is not by sociology. It's not by reading all these books. It is you discover how God has wired you by discovering the one that has wired you. Stop trying to discover you first. Discover God first, and then God will reveal you. He will. He just will. That's just who he is. And you, I can get on a whole tangent.
That's good. I really feel like, especially for people that are watching, that at least I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I feel like what's wrong, a lot of people in the church today, is we really do put expectations on people too much, honestly. Because, this pastor said this, or this pastor did that, or somebody hurt me or did something to me. I'm like, dude, if you just understand, first off, the Bible says, lean not on your own understanding, but all your ways lean on him. And so leaning on him is leaning on the fact that you can't lean on anybody else. You lean on other people, guess what they're going to do? They're going to fall and they're going to make mistakes. So we have to lean on the one that can hold us, which is God. And so when you lean on him, he's there. And you can't just expect a pastor or a spiritual leader, whatever it is, to be perfect. And guess what? They're going to do something dumb. They're going to let you down. They're going to make mistakes. And so that's why we are not, I hate it when people are like, well, I don't go to church because there's a bunch of people that are, hypocrites. I'm like, we all are hypocrites. We're all sinners. We've all made mistakes.
Yeah, you're not church hurt, you're people hurt.
Yeah, exactly. The church is a hospital for the broken. Jesus said, I didn't come for the healthy. I came for the sick.
And let me phrase it a little bit differently for you. The church is not a building.
Yeah.
It's not a brand. The church is the bride of Christ. So you cannot, I'm phrasing people, I'm going to get canceled out of this.
Get it.
You cannot hate the church and love Jesus.
Yeah.
What you are saying is, I love a husband and I hate his wife.
Ooh. Yeah.
You can't, that does not make any logical sense. If I loved you and I said I hate Mirari.
Yeah. You basically hate me.
I hate you. Why? Because you're
we're
one. So whenever you say, I hate the church, and again, we label church as a building. The church is the gathering of the believers, the children of God. That's the church, the bride of Christ, the church. Now, a person within the body is going to hurt you.
Yeah.
If you haven't been hurt, you're going to be hurt. But like it's you're just going to.
Yeah.
Your favorite leader, your favorite person, the best author you've ever read, the whatever you want to call it. And the reason it's actually from Joshua Alvarez. We just had this podcast and I read this a scripture about Jesus telling John the Baptist, "Blessed are those who are not offended at me." Like, so even Jesus is going to hurt you.
Yeah.
So you are going to get hurt. What happens when you get hurt?
Yep.
How are you dealing with it? And sometimes it's not about the person that hurt you. It's about, why did that person so easily hurt me?
Oh, that's good. I think the definition I heard is a true mature Christian is defined as how easily is it for you to get offended. And so, like, is it easy for you to get offended? Check yourself. Like, is it something that I get offended pretty quickly? Then, man, where's my maturity level?
Right, and that takes humility, and it also takes a realistic point as we finish.
Yes.
A realistic point of, I might not be as mature as I think I am. I might not be as in love with Jesus as I think I am.
Yeah.
I might not be as good at loving people and compassionate and grace and truth as I think I am. And those moments, it is humiliating.
Ooh. Yeah.
Which then brings humility.
Yeah.
Because I actually have to be, my flesh and soul have to be humiliated sometimes for me to realize I'm not all that in a bag of chips.
Yeah.
I'm really not.
Man.
I need Jesus as much as you do.
Don't we
as
all?
Much as Pastor Eddie does, as much as Pastor Casey does. Like, no pastor, yes, there are standards. Do not hear what I am not saying. There are standards for elders and deacons and pastors and shepherds and evangelists and teachers. Like, there are
100%.
There are standards. That is not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, we get to decide whenever hurt comes, how I take it. The only person I can control is me. I can't control my wife.
Yeah.
I can't even control my kids.
Yeah.
I can't control my dog. I can't control my house. I can't, like, sometimes we're not even fighting humility and pride, which pride I believe stems from this, but like it stems off, like they're connected, and it's control.
Yeah.
We want control. So whenever we get hurt in a failed expectation or whatever, we feel out of control. And so we're going to go find somewhere I feel control. I'm going to go find somewhere, a church that I feel like I'm still in control over the narrative of my life or the narrative of how someone sees me.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you do something dumb, you could have left.
Yeah.
You could have dipped out in the life church when you got sent home.
Yeah.
Been like, well, I'm just not going to be seen this way. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to be viewed this way. I'm not going to be viewed the man that gets it wrong all the time. I'm not going to be the man that gets hurt all the time. I'm not going to be the man that falls short. Like, I'm going to go be somewhere else. I'm just going to be different. I'm going to go where someone doesn't know me.
Yep.
I'm going to dip out.
Yep. And guess what usually happens? It usually comes circle back around because, again, it's not them.
It's you. You wonder why we've transitioned from 12 churches.
Yeah.
But you always blame the pastor, or you always blame a person in the church. You blame the youth pastor that
they
your
don't see my
teenagers.
calling.
Oh, bro,
they don't see what God's called on my life. They're not letting me lead. They're not letting me speak.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever.
They're not letting me sing right now. I'm a lamp that's covered.
Oh, man.
Guys, like again, I've dealt with this.
Yep.
These thoughts have come through me. And on top of that, let me talk. I was a former youth pastor, bro. I'm gonna talk to I got a youth pastor next to me. Let me just talk for 2 seconds. 2 seconds, I'm closing. I promise. And this is on topic and off
Classic
topic.
pastor
Church.
thing.
Oh my gosh, I've been trying to close for an hour. And it's this: parents, stop telling the youth pastor how to pastor.
Oh, snap.
And stop asking them how to parent. Your job is to parent. Their job is to pastor. You're anointed to be a parent. They're anointed to be a pastor. You are called to parent your children in the negative and the positive things. Stop taking your children and throwing them at the youth pastor thinking that he's going to fix them. Maybe the reason why your child is going through some of the stuff that they're going through is because it's actually a fruit they're eating from their parent.
Snap.
We may be wondering why our children is dealing with pride, anxiety, fear, worry. There were things that I could teach as a youth pastor every Wednesday, every Sunday, every Saturday. Every time I showed up at a school lunch, I could have meetings, I could counsel students, I could consult students, I could do all these things. They would show up released from this thing, walk home, and then they would call me, and it was like something never changed. I'm like, guys, what happened? They're like, I'm just having a bad day. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, you left having a great day. And come to find out, it was because mom and dad were still carrying them like they couldn't grow, they couldn't change, or that they were carrying that. Like, you're called to be a parent.
Yeah.
Live in it. This dude's called to be a youth pastor. Every youth pastor is not called to fix your child. He's called to shepherd your child.
See.
So the statement, this was the biggest statement for me it took me 2.5 years, was the reality of, I'm not called to be a parent to this child. I'm called to be this child's pastor and shepherd. And this parents, because I've had it many times, I had parents that would tell me how to pastor and then 2 months later ask me how to parent. Like, so are you going to tell me how to do the thing that God has anointed me for and positioned me for? And then you're going to ask me how to do what you are anointed and positioned for.
We don't even have teenagers.
I'm not, bro.
We got toddlers.
I don't. And that's my children, but I'm anointed to pastor them.
Yes.
Right now, I'm not anointed to be a teenager's parent. Yeah. Unless I'm called to adoption, then I believe the Lord gives me that mantle.
Yeah.
But you know what I believe the Lord has given me a mantle for? Was to pastor.
Yeah.
And to shepherd. And to lead them in that way. But I did not have the mantle of a parent.
That's right.
And we have to understand, as people in the church, you may be getting offended because someone is wearing a mantle that you don't understand. And you want them to wear the mantle you're wearing. But you don't even understand your mantle.
Yeah.
You may be getting offended as a friend leaves because they're transitioning mantles, as a pastor leaves, as someone transitions, as someone in this stuff, because you're like, man, I deserve that mantle. Or why don't I have that mantle? Just like the son in the prodigal son. As you watch your brother leave with an inheritance and you get mad at dad, and dad just says, you've had everything.
Mm-hmm.
You've had everything.
Yep.
Why are you so hurt? We didn't have to throw parties for you because every day is a gift from you. Like, he was far off and now he's here. But you've been here.
That's good.
You know? And so my encouragement to you all is man, if you are in a transition moment, I'd ask you that you would go be like Agostini. Go before the Lord. Go into the secret place. Ask God, all right, Lord, do I need to be rooted here? Or is it time to move?
Yeah.
And sometimes both of the scariest things, as people that are rooted in places, your mom still lives in the same house that you grew up in, right? Yeah. My parents, same house.
Yeah.
So it's not easy for us to move.
Never.
It's not easy because we have known stability.
Yep.
And then there's other people that it's very easy for them to move.
Yeah.
Because they haven't known stability.
Yeah.
Like consistency, right? And so we need to be obedient when the Lord tells us to move.
Yeah.
And then other people need to be obedient when he tells them to stay.
Yeah. It's a hard one because I feel like with God, like his heart was, hey, I made this garden for you guys to live in the garden. Stay in the garden.
Yeah.
Whatever, and subdue it, all the creatures.
Yeah, the only person you're meant to stay with, I'll put it this way, and speaking of my own soul, the only person we're meant to stay with at all times is him, our gardener.
Yep.
That I don't want to fall in love with a place. I don't want to fall in love with a plan. I want to fall in love with the person.
Yeah.
I'm falling in love with the person that's guiding me. I'm falling in person with the person that is moving me from place to place, from thing to thing, from position to position. I'm gonna fall in love with Jesus, fall in love with Abba, the Holy Spirit, the Great Comforter. I'm gonna fall in love with them, and they're the only one that will continue to remain consistent. And if I'm working at Walmart for 40 years,
Yeah.
I'll be the gosh dang best Walmart employee that I can
Best
be.
greeter.
Like, and if that's my calling,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get mad at God because I'm a wooden spoon and you were called to be a silver spoon. Because guess what? I don't know your troubles and you don't know mine.
Yeah.
Proverbs says you never can understand another man's troubles or their joy.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
Grass ain't always greener, but
It's not. It is greener where you water it.
that's right.
It
Come
is
on
greener
now.
where you water it.
Good
So
stuff.
hey, go start watering your grass, y'all.
Yes. Hey, Tale of Three Kings. Write that down.
Tale of
Good
Three
book.
Kings.
You
Great
don't
book,
want to
great
miss
book,
that one.
great book, great
It's
book.
very
Go
small
read
too.
it. Yeah,
so
it's a
quick.
tiny book. Yeah. I need to go
very
read that
good.
again. I haven't read that in a few years.
Good stuff.
But yeah, well, hey, we love you, prolific people. We love you so much. Agostini, thank you for being honest, truthful, vulnerable, being real. Thank you for allowing me to just ask some questions that I don't know if you've ever been asked.
Yeah,
And so
no,
thank you
good.
for being recorded and allowing it to go out to the world. So I know it will bless people. I know it will because I believe everything that comes forth from being obedient to the Lord blesses people.
If you have any
So,
questions, write some stuff in the comments. We're
comment
happy to
below, et cetera, et
respond.
cetera. So yeah. Well, hey,
Thank you
love
guys. See ya.
Deuces.